This video will discuss LEGO Technic Beams, which are called studless brick and also called lift arms. To get started with, we'll talk about one of our longer LEGO beams. This has 15 holes, so it will be called a 15 beam lift arm, or 15 beam L. Beam long is kind of actually, if I can do it here, kind of flexible here and a little bit here as well. But I've only broken a few of these under great stress, like a foot under a car that's rolling by. So this one is a 15 hole, unlike our Technic brick over here, which is 1 by 16 Technic brick, but it also has 15 holes in it as well. You can see that kind of matches up. So we have 15 holes, 13, 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, 2. See, there's 2 of those. One has a cross in it and one just has the open peg hole. And then we have a 1, which is fairly new. And this is also considered a spacer. So we have our peg here, and if we needed to, let's say, put something on this 3 linked peg, it could go here, and then it actually could slide down in your build. So you could put this 1L, it's not a beam because it's not linear, put this 1 beam in there and it will keep it from sliding down. So that's I know it was the last one, I actually talked about it first, but that's one of the quick uses of the 1L. The 15 Technic beam is used for a lot of the creations because it's long, one piece. You don't have to worry about trying to connect it or make it a rigid shape or anything. And the really cool thing about it is it's actually really thin. So if I were to stack 2 bricks together, it would equal 1, 2, get this here, basically equals 3 beams to 2 bricks. So I talked about in my earlier video when I talked about the LEGO Technic brick. If you haven't seen that one, please reference it on when you would use a Technic beam rather than a Technic brick, or vice versa, and we'll do more depth on the brick as well. So since the beam is thin and just 1 module tall, you can hook things into the side and get a really clean build here. You can put a peg on top and then build different things. I know this is a friction peg, but you can build things that could move about. Maybe you want to talk about a 90 degree, you want to talk about different angular elements in a science class, you could do that. You could talk about vector when putting different elements on, maybe using a rack. So there's a lot of different aspects you can do, and this is just one connector working there, and we'll go again into more depth on these Technic beams. But these are a lot of fun, very creative, and of course we'll talk about the angled beam a little later on, and also the half-size beam, which would get away from more of the odd number. Here's the even one, of course, mainly the odd number beams, and then get into some of the flat ones, the angled, which will come in different degrees, and talk about usage of those as well. But back to the LEGO beam, the 2 beam can be used, as I showed in one of the other videos. If you put your axle through, you can actually give this some force and then allow your creation to move a bit. So I'm transferring energy from, this is where the lift arm part would come in, transferring energy from your fantastic 40-tooth gear, and it's turning, maybe a railroad crossing or something, and it starts to turn, or a parking garage lever, or windshield wiper, any of those basic levers. And when I turn this, it would give it force, it would allow it to connect to that arm and make it a rigid lift. If you use the regular 2 with no cross arm in it, you could still use lift, but it wouldn't come from the, it would not come from the gear. Here's a really cool tip here. If you put a 3 module beam through, and let's do this guy over here, the 13, this is still has flexibility. Put this in, now it's more rigid, but you can also transfer energy. You see that still turning right here, still transfer energy through, and you could push something up and down here while this transfer energy as well. So you have a few options in there. Maybe you have a vehicle that's moving with suspension, and the chassis, or the chassis, excuse me, is moving around, and you need something to stay flexible, maybe pivot on the pivot point here, and a lot of fulcrums to stay steady in the middle, and items are moving, and this doesn't need to be disrupted. So again, you can really have a lot of fun in the creative elements of the beam, going through elements like, ooh, where's a good one? Your frame areas. You can insert a beam inside here and build from, or maybe even fill this all the way in, or you can actually insert a, oh, wrong one, insert a cross piece inside here and have it where it does some kind of open and close release area. So that could be a switch that switches something up inside, and you can see it's limited by the cross element there. Or you can have it where it switches things on or off, or actually have a force part for a pullback car. There's a lot of different, you would have to pull it forward to get this on. You can put a peg in there, wind this up, and then release it, and that would just flow freely. Maybe not hook the rubber band into the side. Okay, got me building over here already. So a lot of really cool elements you can do with those beams, and paired with basic pegs, some of the more newer advanced pegs you could use there as well, and paired with the Technic brick. Now here's a really cool tip as well. On your Technic brick, these holes actually line up here, so if you need to lock a peg in to make something, a beam in, to make something really sturdy, you can force that down really strong, and you can invert from a horizontal to a vertical stand, and you can still put elements in there. See how that one doesn't go in fully? That's where some of these smaller different pegs would come in, to where that would actually force in. Now you have a full length of a peg sticking out, but you also have the elements inside which keep it strong. So this is actually really strong. So again, there's a lot of technique you can do, make this very technical, to add different elements on anywhere you want to, even angled beams on the side to change, make me do lettering, or different design, art, different force elements. So a lot to go on with that. So thank you for watching. Please look for more extensive talk and discussion on the beams. We'll talk about angle beam as well and reference back to some of the other videos to combine those elements up and then start making some creations. Thank you guys so much. Look forward to, make sure you subscribe, and when these new videos come out, you can get them immediately and keep up with us. Please comment anything you want us to put out there as well. Thank you so much.